own words are quietly pushing people away. After 70, the way we speak carries even more weight. Words that once felt harmless can start to isolate us without us even noticing. In this stage of life, connection becomes more valuable than ever, but it also becomes more fragile. Many seniors speak from pain or disappointment, not realizing that certain phrases slowly build invisible walls between them and the people they love. The tragedy is they often mean well. They don't realize that their expressions, repeated over time, make others feel helpless, uncomfortable, or even rejected. If you've ever wondered why people check in less, or why silence fills the room when you speak, it might not be your age, it might be your words. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 things people over 70 often say that unintentionally drive others away. And no, this isn't about sugarcoating or pretending everything's fine. It's about understanding how your voice can either build bridges or burn them. The truth is, you're not alone because you're old. You're alone because you might be sending the wrong signals. But the good news? Once you recognize these patterns, you can change them, starting today. Stick with me until the end, because the 7th point may surprise you the most. Let's begin. Number 1, the phrase, "I'm just a burden now." Few things silence a room faster than hearing someone say, "I'm just a burden now." It's a phrase that may come from deep exhaustion or quiet despair, but to those around you, it doesn't invite connection, it shuts it down. People who care about you don't see you as a burden. But when you label yourself that way, they don't know how to respond. They feel helpless, guilty, or even resentful. Not because they don't love you, but because they're unsure whether to comfort, challenge, or stay silent. And slowly they stop coming around, afraid of triggering the same sad refrain again and again. When we speak this way, we unknowingly place others in a moral bind. It's a silent test, prove you care, or you're part of the problem. And that's heavy. For everyone, loneliness often begins not with absence, but with emotional shutdowns, statements that block instead of build. Take Helen, 83, a retired school secretary in Pennsylvania. After her husband passed, her daughter began visiting weekly, bringing groceries and conversation. But over time, Helen started repeating the phrase, "You shouldn't waste time on an old burden like me." At first, her daughter reassured her, but eventually she began shortening the visits. Not out of malice, but because every conversation ended in guilt. Helen didn't want to push her daughter away, but the phrase did that for her. The truth is, saying you're a burden isn't humility, it's a form of despair dressed as modesty. And despair repels the very warmth it secretly longs for. What builds connection is appreciation, not apology. Try saying, "I'm so grateful. You make time for me," instead of, "You shouldn't have." Gratitude opens. Self-deprecation closes. This shift in language isn't about pretending. It's about choosing words that invite love rather than deflect it. People want to be there for you. Don't make them feel like they're crossing a line by showing up. Number 2, the phrase, "No one understands me anymore." There's a quiet sting in the words, "No one understands me anymore." It can feel true, especially as the world rushes forward, and your life starts to feel like it belongs to a different era. But this phrase doesn't build bridges, it burns them. When you say it aloud, what others hear isn't just your pain, but a subtle accusation. It suggests they've failed you, or that their efforts to connect aren't good enough. And when people feel they can't win, they eventually stop trying. What starts as an honest expression of loneliness can quickly turn into a wall. Over time, the people around you may stop sharing their thoughts or asking for yours. Because the message is clear, we're on different sides of a gap that can't be crossed. It's isolating, and not because you meant to push them away, but because the words did that for you. Let's look at Robert, 79, a retired engineer from Ohio. His grandchildren would visit and talk about social media, video games, or music. At first, Robert listened, even if he didn't always follow along. But one day, after a story about their favorite new app, he said with a tired sigh, "I don't get any of this. I guess no one really understands me anymore." It was an offhand remark, but after that, they started coming around less. When they did visit, the conversations were shorter, the laughter more restrained. They didn't want to make him feel more out of place, so they stopped bringing him into their world. What Robert didn't see was that they were trying to include him, not because they expected him to understand every detail, but because they wanted to feel close. They were offering a connection, and his words quietly closed the door. Here's what's more powerful: curiosity. Even if the world feels foreign, asking, "What do you enjoy about that?" or "What does that mean?" keeps you inside the circle. You don't have to understand everything to stay connected. You just have to be willing to stay open. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, the phrase "I've got nothing left to offer." Few statements carry as much silent resignation as the phrase "I've got nothing left to offer." On the surface, it may sound like a passing expression of fatigue or humility, but underneath it's a quiet surrender. And when you speak those words often enough, you begin to believe them. More importantly, the people around you start to believe them too, and that's where the damage begins. This phrase creates a kind of emotional vacancy. It tells your children, your friends, and even your neighbors that you've checked out, that your wisdom, your humor, your presence, none of it is in play anymore. And it subtly discourages others from leaning on you, from including you, from inviting you into conversations where your experience could shine. I knew a woman named Elaine, 81, who had lived a rich life as a teacher and community volunteer. But after her husband passed, she slowly stopped attending church groups or neighborhood meetings. When asked if she'd join in, she'd simply say, "Oh, I've got nothing left to offer." And eventually they stopped asking. She thought she was being modest, even sparing others the trouble. But in truth, she was silencing the very voice that had once uplifted her community. The truth is, you always have something to offer. Your stories, your presence, your perspective. These are not small things. In fact, they're irreplaceable. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give is just to show up, to listen, to share a laugh, or remind someone that they're not alone. When you say, "I've got nothing left to offer," you rob the world of something sacred, your continued existence as a source of meaning and connection. And even worse, you start to rob yourself of that same truth, because what we say out loud has a way of shaping what we believe. So instead, consider saying, "I may not have the energy I used to, but I'm still here." Or, "I may be older, but I still care deeply." That shift in language tells others and yourself that you still matter. Because you do. And that reminder, said often enough, can open doors you didn't even know were still available. Number 4, the phrase "I don't want to be a burden." This one sounds noble. It's laced with humility, self-restraint, and what appears to be consideration for others. But underneath that soft exterior, the phrase "I don't want to be a burden" carries a deeply isolating weight. And for many older adults, repeating this thought becomes a form of quiet self-erasure. When you keep saying it, even in small ways, you start to shrink your presence in the lives of those who actually want to be there for you. It may start as declining a ride to the doctor, brushing off an invitation to dinner, or avoiding a conversation about how you're really doing. Each time it seems harmless. But slowly, those around you begin to believe you truly don't want help, don't want company, don't want connection. And so they stop offering, not because they don't care, but because they think they're honoring your wishes. There's an older gentleman I once knew named Paul, age 84. He had 3 grown kids who lived within an hour's drive. But whenever they'd ask if he needed anything, groceries, errands, even just some company, he'd always say, no, I'm fine. I don't want to be a burden." After a while, the calls came less often. Not because they didn't love him, but because they didn't want to intrude. Paul was left sitting at home, wondering why no one came around anymore, not realizing it was the very phrase he kept repeating that built the walls around him. The truth is, letting others help isn't being a burden, it's being human. And it's giving them the opportunity to love you through action, which is often the deepest kind of connection we can offer each other. When you say, "I don't want to be a burden," what your children or friends may hear is, "Don't get too close," or worse, "I don't trust your love enough to lean on it." Instead, try saying, "Thank you, I'd really appreciate that," or "It means a lot that you asked." These responses affirm connection without guilt. They keep the bridge open between you and the people who care most. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the phrase "It's too late for me." Few phrases shut the door on possibility faster than "it's too late for me." It sounds final, even harmless, but it plants a subtle, persistent seed of defeat. When repeated often enough, this idea doesn't just end opportunities, it erodes hope, dignity, and the chance for change. And the truth is, age doesn't disqualify you from growth, purpose, or even joy. I once met a woman named Gloria who was 79 at the time. Her husband had passed, her children lived far away, and she'd given up on most social activities. One day at a small community luncheon, someone asked if she'd ever thought about volunteering. Gloria smiled and said softly, "It's too late for me." The moment passed, but it stuck with me because I saw in her eyes that she didn't believe she had anything left to offer. That phrase, just 5 words, had become her excuse to stay hidden from life. But here's what I wish Gloria had known, that some of the most meaningful things we do in life happen in the later chapters. Think about it. Wisdom matures. Compassion deepens. Even simple gestures like a kind word or a story shared over coffee become powerful. And many people find that after 70, the expectations fade and freedom emerges. Not the freedom to give up, but the freedom to live on your own terms. When you say it's too late for me, you stop your own momentum before it has the chance to begin. You take yourself out of the game before anyone else does. That's the tragedy, because most of the time the door wasn't closed, it just needed a nudge. Instead of saying it's too late for me, try asking, what's still possible? That one shift in language can unlock an entirely new path. Whether it's taking up watercolor painting, learning how to use video chat to connect with grandkids, or simply joining a local walking group, each step says, I'm still here. I still matter. So if you've caught yourself using that phrase, I hope you'll pause, because it's not too late. In fact, this very moment might be the perfect time. Number 6, the phrase, no one needs me anymore. There's a quiet kind of pain that settles in when someone starts believing they're no longer needed. The phrase, no one needs me anymore, doesn't just express loneliness. It carries the weight of invisibility, of feeling left behind by a world that seems to move on without you. And for many older adults, especially those who've spent a lifetime taking care of others, this phrase can feel like the final closing chapter. But that belief is almost never true. Often, it's not that you're no longer needed, it's that the ways you're needed have simply changed. In your younger years, maybe you were raising kids, managing a household, or contributing at work. That role gave you a clear sense of purpose. But now, in your 70s or 80s, purpose doesn't always come with a title. It comes in the form of wisdom passed down, presence offered freely, and kindness shared without fanfare. Take Leonard, for instance. At 83, he lived alone and mostly kept to himself. He often told his neighbor, I don't know why I'm still here. No one needs me. But one winter during a power outage, that same neighbor came by asking for help starting a generator. Leonard had spent his life working as a mechanic. In that moment, all his years of knowledge mattered deeply. And more importantly, he felt it. He didn't say, no one needs me again. Feeling needed isn't about being busy or in demand. It's about knowing you can still make a difference, even in quiet, simple ways. A phone call to a friend, a note of encouragement to a younger family member, a memory shared with a neighbor. These are not small acts. They are lifelines. And they remind others and ourselves that our presence carries weight. When you believe you're no longer needed, you stop reaching out. You pull back, and that isolation grows. But when you realize that someone out there benefits just from hearing your voice, your story, your laughter, it changes everything. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 7, the phrase, it's too late for me. Of all the things we say to ourselves, this one carries the heaviest lock on the door of possibility. Saying it's too late for me shuts down the mind, the heart, and the future in one sentence. It's a phrase that tells you to stop trying, to stop dreaming, to sit down quietly and let the rest of life pass you by. But here's the truth, it's almost never too late, unless you believe it is. What we often forget is that aging isn't a closing act. It's just a different chapter. You may not be as fast as you once were, or as physically strong, but what you've gained in life experience, emotional insight, and spiritual depth is priceless. That kind of richness doesn't come in your 30s or 40s. It's earned over decades, and it's meant to be used, shared, and lived, not hidden under the blanket of it's too late. There's a man named Clarence who didn't write his first book until he was 82. He'd always wanted to, but life kept getting in the way. After losing his wife, he sat down and started writing. Not because he thought the world was waiting, but because his soul needed it. That book became a gift, not just for his grandchildren, but for strangers who found comfort in his words. None of that would have happened if Clarence had told himself it was too late. You see, it's too late is never really about time. It's about fear. It's fear that you'll fail, or that no one will care, or that you'll be embarrassed for trying. But what's worse than failing is not trying at all and carrying the quiet ache of regret for the rest of your days. At 70, 80, even 90, there's still time to write a letter you've been meaning to send. Pick up a hobby you always set aside, or simply change the way you treat yourself and others. You're not too old to forgive, to heal, to laugh deeply, or to live with a sense of purpose. The only thing standing in the way is the story you keep repeating to yourself. So if you find yourself saying, "It's too late for me," pause, take a breath, and ask, "Too late for what?" You might find the answer surprises you. Because as long as you're here, breathing, thinking, feeling, it's never too late to begin again. Final thoughts. As we grow older, the words we choose begin to shape the emotional landscape of our days. They can either build bridges or put up walls. The 7 phrases we've explored today may seem harmless at first, but over time, they chip away at our connections, confidence, and peace of mind. And the truth is, most of us don't even realize we're saying them. They become habits tucked into the folds of everyday conversation, quietly doing their damage. But here's the good news: awareness is the first step to change. Once you recognize these patterns, you can choose differently. You can speak life into your days. You can offer yourself grace, and you can extend that grace to others. The way we talk to ourselves and the way we speak to those around us matters more than we often admit. And after 70, every word counts a little more, because the people who truly listen are fewer, and the moments that truly matter become clearer. So here's what I'd love for you to take away from this video. You are not stuck in the language of the past. You are not bound to the phrases you've always used. You have the power to rewrite your narrative, not just for yourself, but for the people who love you in the community you live in. You still have time to uplift, to encourage, and to show others what strength, wisdom, and grace look like in their most authentic form. Thank you for joining us today. Notice that some people seem to grow happier as they age, while others become weighed down by stress. It might not be what you think. In fact, sometimes the secret to a joyful old age isn't about doing more, it's about doing less. That's right. The lazier you are at certain things, the happier and more peaceful your life becomes. In this video, we're going to explore 5 things that, if you put in less effort, can actually bring you more happiness and fulfillment as you grow older. These insights may change the way you see your later years and help you embrace a life with fewer worries and more joy. And trust me, you won't want to miss the last one, because it just might be the most liberating realization you'll ever have. So stay with me until the end, and let's uncover what truly makes life better as we age. Number 1, the lazier you are at worrying about others' opinions, the happier you are. As the years go by, you begin to realize that most of the worries you had about what others thought of you were never worth the stress. When you were younger, you may have spent time and energy trying to meet expectations, gain approval, or avoid judgment. But as you age, you start to see that people are too busy thinking about their own lives to scrutinize yours. The more effort you put into pleasing others, the more exhausted you become. On the other hand, the moment you let go of this burden and become lazy about worrying, you find a sense of peace you never had before. Think about it. Have you ever seen an older person who just lives the way they want without concern for trends, status, or gossip? They dress comfortably, say what's on their mind, and make decisions based on what makes them happy, not on what others will think. And the best part? They don't carry the weight of unnecessary expectations. That's the freedom that comes with age. And the sooner you embrace it, the more joy you'll have. Of course, this doesn't mean being inconsiderate or disregarding the feelings of loved ones. It simply means recognizing that constantly trying to meet others' expectations is a never-ending cycle that drains your energy. Imagine being free from that, just enjoying your days without second-guessing every choice because of what someone else might say. That's where true happiness begins. Number 2, the lazier you are at forcing relationships, the happier you are. In your younger years, you might have believed that maintaining relationships, whether friendships, family connections, or romantic ties, required constant effort, even if they brought more stress than joy. You reached out, tried to fix things, and held on, even when you sensed that the relationship had already run its course. But as time passes, you start to see things differently. The more you force relationships that aren't meant to last, the more drained you become. When you let go of this need to keep everyone in your life, something remarkable happens. You start valuing the people who naturally remain. Instead of spending energy on those who take you for granted or bring negativity, you begin to appreciate those who show up effortlessly, You stop chasing people who don't reciprocate your efforts. And in doing so, you give space for genuine connections to thrive. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how some of the most peaceful people in old age aren't the ones surrounded by the most people, but the ones surrounded by the right people? They're not wasting time on surface-level friendships or one-sided efforts. Instead, they're enjoying the company of those who truly care. And when you stop overextending yourself just to keep certain relationships afloat, you realize how much lighter life feels. This doesn't mean shutting people out or avoiding relationships altogether. It simply means recognizing that not all connections are meant to last forever, and that's okay. The right people will stay, and you won't have to exhaust yourself proving your worth to them. The moment you become lazy about forcing relationships is the moment you make room for the ones that actually bring happiness. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, the lazier you are at trying to change others, the happier you are. For most of your life, you might have felt responsible for guiding people in the right direction, offering advice, correcting mistakes, or trying to get others to see things from your perspective. Maybe you wanted your kids to make better choices, your friends to see reason, or even your spouse to change certain habits. But here's a hard truth that only becomes clearer with age. People don't change unless they want to. The more you push, the more resistance you face. And in the end, all that effort does is leave you feeling exhausted. At some point, you realize that trying to change others is like shouting into the wind. It takes energy, but it doesn't get you anywhere. You can give advice, offer support, and share your perspective. But if someone isn't ready to change, they simply won't. And once you accept this, life gets easier. You begin to focus on what you can control, your own choices, your own reactions, and your own peace of mind. Think about the people in your life who have frustrated you the most. Maybe you tried to convince them to take better care of their health, be more responsible, or handle things differently. And maybe despite all your efforts, nothing changed. But the moment you stop carrying that weight on your shoulders, a sense of freedom follows. You no longer feel frustrated over things that aren't yours to fix. The happiest people in old age are the ones who understand this simple fact. Everyone is on their own journey. You can't force wisdom onto someone. You can't speed up their lessons. You can only lead by example and allow people to come to their own realizations in their own time. The moment you stop trying to change others is the moment you reclaim your own happiness. Number 4, the lazier you are at chasing. After people who don't value you, the happier you are. There comes a time in life when you realize that not everyone is meant to stay. Friendships fade, relationships shift, and family members grow distant. Maybe you spent years being the one who always reached out, the one who always made the plans, or the one who tried to hold everything together. But as time passes, you start to see something clearly. If you have to chase someone just to keep them in your life, they were never truly there to begin with. In younger years, we often believe that effort alone can hold relationships together. We assume that if we just try harder, call more, visit more, give more, people will reciprocate, but experience teaches otherwise. The people who genuinely care about you will make an effort on their own. They will call, they will check in, and they will show up without needing to be reminded. The ones who don't, well, they were already slipping away long before you noticed. When you stop chasing, you gain something invaluable: peace. No longer are you tied to one-sided relationships that drain you. No longer do you carry the weight of wondering why someone doesn't make time for you. Instead, you invest your energy where it truly matters, with the people who choose to be in your life without being pushed. Some people will always prioritize themselves. Some will only remember you when they need something, and some will take your kindness for granted. But when you stop chasing, something beautiful happens. The right people stay. The ones who value you, respect you, and genuinely enjoy your company will always be there. And the ones who drift away, they were never yours to hold on to in the first place. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the lazier you are at trying to control everything, the happier you are. There's a certain freedom that comes with realizing that not everything is yours to fix, manage, or worry about. When you're younger, you might have spent years trying to control every little detail. Your career, your relationships, even how other people saw you. But as the years pass, you start to see that no matter how much effort you put in, some things will always be beyond your control. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, the less you try to control, the happier you become. Think about how much time and energy is wasted on trying to control outcomes that were never in your hands to begin with. You plan every detail of an event only for things to go off course. You try to make a loved one see things your way, only to realize they have their own mind and perspective. You stress over what might happen in the future, only to realize that worrying never actually changed anything. The truth is, control is an illusion, and the sooner you accept that, the lighter life feels. One of the biggest lessons in aging well is learning how to let go. Letting go of expectations, letting go of past regrets, letting go of the idea that you are responsible for making everything perfect. Because the truth is, perfection doesn't exist. And the more you try to force life to fit a certain shape, the more frustration you create for yourself. It's no coincidence that some of the happiest older people you meet are also the most relaxed. They've learned to take life as it comes, rather than constantly trying to fight against it. They don't waste energy on things they can't change, and they don't allow small inconveniences to ruin their day. They understand that true happiness isn't found in controlling life, it's found in embracing it. When you stop trying to control everything, you finally get to experience the joy of simply living. You start to appreciate the present moment instead of always thinking about what's next. You stop getting upset over things that don't go your way and start finding peace in knowing that everything unfolds exactly as it's meant to. And the best part, you finally get to breathe. Final thoughts. One. At the end of the day, happiness in old age isn't about working harder, doing more, or constantly pushing yourself. It's about knowing where to let go, where to slow down, and where to allow life to take its natural course. The truth is, the lazier you are at certain things, overcommitting, worrying, trying to impress, pleasing everyone, and controlling everything, the more peaceful and fulfilling your life becomes. There's a kind of wisdom that only comes with time, and one of the greatest lessons is that happiness isn't about adding more. It's about subtracting what no longer serves you. When you release unnecessary stress, expectations, and obligations, you make space for the things that truly matter. You find joy in simpler moments, appreciation in everyday life, and a deeper sense of peace that isn't tied to external validation. So ask yourself, which of these areas do you still hold on to? Are you overcommitting out of obligation? Are you worrying about things you can't change? Are you still trying to meet the expectations of others rather than living for yourself? Maybe it's time to step back, take a deep breath, and give yourself permission to be a little lazier, at least in the ways that matter most. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.